So, hello everyone. It is a pleasure to be here virtually. I am Krizler from the Ecology and Conservation Research Laboratory at the University of Southern Mindanao in Philippines. So, before I start, I would like to thank the Global South Bats for organizing these really fantastic events to share different ideas and findings from different parts of the Global South. So, for today, I will be talking about one of my projects during my PhD at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, supervised by Dr. Alice Hughes. So, more specifically, I'll be talking about the global mapping for priorities for cave dwelling bats. So, this paper was recently published last July in the journal Science of the Total Environment. And if you want to read further about this, it is open access. You can find it in my Twitter or you can send me message on my email. So I really hope that you will find this sharing interesting and hope to inspire you to do more research and collaborate to advance further bat conservation globally. So I think everyone is familiar that we are currently facing a different and extreme ecological changes. Our home planet Earth is being forced to change significantly, which is mainly driven by various human needs and activities. So as we enter the sixth mass extinction with accelerating rate that is higher than previously projected, the identification of species and ecosystems require that require more effort to be conserved is really urgent. However, achieving effective and long-term conservation is often challenged by many factors such as our ability to implement conservation actions on ground or limited access to technologies and limited funds to do good research. Especially this is true in most countries in the global south. So modern technologies enable us to easily map environmental changes and also track threats. For example, in forested areas, we can easily identify change over time and how threats are changing. Yet most subterranean habitats, including caves, are challenging to map and they have been frequently been overlooked and neglected in many prioritizations. So caves are important because among Earth's ecosystems, caves and underground ecosystems cover at least around 20% of the total land surface, but they are often underrated despite they contain many unique and endemic species. For example, in tropical caves alone, for example, in China, in tropical China, in Southeast Asia, there is an estimated of at least 90% of the described species are new to science. However, many cave ecosystems continue to lack systematic studies and conservation actions in many regions. And within caves, bats are important keystone species as they deliver energy from the outside to the inside. So this interaction makes bats as an ideal indicator species or indicator taxa to indicate the status of caves. It means that if we reduce bats, if bat population reduce within a cave, we are expecting that some other organisms that are dependent to them could also lose their population. So here we tried to map the global caves around the world and we integrate different approaches. So first, we used IUCN data and the collaborative DarkSide database that we developed. So this is a database that contains cave-dwelling bat information and distribution of cave bats globally, which is widely represented by young scientists from the Global South. So if you want to know more about this, you can search in the internet, the Global DarkSide project, And if you want to contribute and be part of the initiative, we are really happy to have you. So on our analysis, by combining different database and approaches, we found that 48% of the global bats are cave dwelling, means that they are using caves in any part of their life histories. And they're widely concentrated in the old world tropics, which is congruent to the global diversity patterns of global mammals. So we also found that 32% can be found in a single country and 15% in the threatened categories, which is relatively high. Okay, so hunting and habitat change are the two common or the most important threats to cave dwelling bats. So cave bats are often hunted for bushmeat, especially in local communities. So cave dwelling bats are easy and vulnerable to hunting because they tend to cluster. Okay, when they're inside caves, we all know how bats roost inside the cave. They usually in cluster, which makes them easier for hunters to hunt and harvest. So the energy used by hunters is less when they hunt bats in caves. So the next threat is habitat changes and modification. While surface land use changes may indirectly threaten species inside caves, but it may be an important factor that increase their vulnerability to intrusion. For example, cave sites in more open areas where deforestation is high will lose their foraging grounds and more open and susceptible to human intrusion. And they're highly visible to hunting and accessible for tourism use. So to address these threats, our first step is to map them and identify their priorities. So we use the BCVI, or the Bat Cave Vulnerability Index, which I developed during my undergraduate studies and eventually a part of my PhD project. So this index is a tool, it's an easy to use tool that integrates bat species diversity within the cave and threats, including a feature of the surrounding landscapes. So we scored around 2,000 bat caves globally, representing 402 species of bats. Then we found that caves with higher biodiversity are concentrated in more pristine cave sites or with lesser disturbance. Globally, we estimated around 3% to 28% of the cave bats are in red priority that really needs immediate conservation interventions or protection at present. And they're widely concentrated in the tropical regions except the Afrotropical, which I think they require more intensive data so we can really see their priorities. So I guess I don't have enough time to end. Here we highlight the power of good data, integration, and potential for impacts for policy, and we hope that with this work we can begin to use a data-driven approaches to help detect and better protect bats and their habitats, and that by working collaboratively we can enhance our understanding of bats across the planet. So thank you so much, and if you want to know more, I'm happy to discuss, and you can send me an email, you can send me a DM on my Twitter. So bye from here.